Yeah, man, my name is Jimmy. I come from Jamaica, bro. We're gonna sing Mato Vu. Oh, 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 oh. Mato Vu, oh Halecha, Yaakov. בשבילותיך ישראל, מה טובו אוהליך יעקב, משכנותיך ישראל. This comes from the portion of Balak. Bilam thinks he's gonna curse Israel, but really in the end his plan derails into nothing and it ends up blessing Israel. מה טובו עליך יעקב, משכנותיך ישראל. Bilam thinks he's bad, he's really good because he blessed Israel instead of putting them in a bad mood. He did not curse them, he did bless them. He blessed them with these words: מה טובו עליך יעקב, משכנותיך ישראל. מה טובו אוהליך יעקב, משכנותיך ישראל. Yo, Bilam did not curse Israel, he ended up blessing them with the following blessing: מה טובו אוהליך יעקב, משכנותיך ישראל. He talked to a donkey, beat it up. He beat it up, but the donkey still loved him a lot and it caused him a lot. But he ended up being bad. He never turned a new leaf. He ended up being a villain forever and ever and ever and ever. מה טובו עליך יעקב, משכנותיך ישראל. מה טובו אוהליך יעקב, משכנותיך ישראל. Everybody listen, gather around. מה טובו אוהליך יעקב, משכנותיך ישראל. Listen to those words. Research them. The translation in English. They are good. Good words Bilam spoke, but he meant to curse Israel. He ended up blessing them instead. The donkey helped a lot, but he still ended up being bad. מה טובו עליך יעקב, משכנותיך ישראל. מה טובו אוהליך יעקב, משכנותיך ישראל. מה טובו אוהליך, מה טובו אוהליך יעקב, משכנותיך ישראל.
Well, Shavua Tov, everyone. I'm Moria Jackson Edwards. It is my pleasure to be with you this evening. It's the last stream of the Shabbat here at Avat Me Ministries and Yeshivat Shuvu. It is our Havdala and teaching stream this evening. Tonight, we have a very special teaching from Rabbi Shapira that is going to be focusing on the book of Zechariah. chapter 8, verse 23. And if that rings a bell, it has to do with the tzitzit. And the title is the tzitzit of Messiah and the tzitzit of Israel. It's going to be really powerful, amazing. Stick around for that. But before we get there, we are always here to end the Shabbat with you and to conclude the Shabbat with the Havdalah service. Havdalah, it means the separation service. We are making a distinction and a separation between holy, which is Shabbat, and common, which is the rest of the week. And this is such a tactile, if that's the right word, or cathartic service, because we have the species, the three different things right in front of us. Each one of them represent the Shabbat, and each one of them also represent the Mashiach. We have the wine, which is the taste of the Shabbat, the taste of Mashiach. We have the spices, the smell of the Shabbat, the smell of Mashiach, and we have the flame, which is the Eish, the flame, which is of course the light of the Shabbat, the light of Mashiach. All of these things go hand in hand with each other. That which applies to the Shabbat applies, of course, to Yeshua, the Messiah. And so this is the time for Havdalah as we are into nightfall, coming into the first day of the week. And one thing I like to mention pretty often in Havdalah is that there's a connection in this service to one of the songs that we sing in Kabbalat Shabbat. And that song is the Lecha Dodi. You recognize it. Chazan Gordon sings it every single week. When we sing the Lecha Dodi, there's a verse that says, Sof Ma'aseh b'mach shavat chila. And what this means is Sof Ma'aseh, it's the last to do, the last indeed. B'mach shavat chila, in the mind, b'mach shava tchila, it's first. And this is referring to the Shabbat. The Shabbat is last to do, but first to think about. Last in deed, first in thought, first in the mind. And so as we exit the Shabbat, our intention is not to forget about Shabbat. Our intention is actually to already have in our mind the coming Shabbat that is next week in 7 days from now. And so, or 6 days from now, really. And so in this moment, what we are doing is not just simply leaving the Shabbat, but we are looking forward to connecting Shabbat to Shabbat. And in doing so, we are hastening Mashiach and hastening the Geulah. The Psalms say that Tzaddik goes Mechail Lechail, from strength to strength. We go from Shabbat to Shabbat, from strength to strength, by having the intention, the mindset of Shabbat, even on Sunday, even on the first day of the week. And every day of the week, we are preparing for and looking forward to the Shabbat. That way, the days of the week are not empty, but the days of the week are imbued with the Shabbat by means of the Machshava. And so tonight, as we enter into the first day of the week, we're already looking forward to anticipating, preparing for, working toward the Shabbat, which represents Mashiach, represents Geulah, represents the kingdom of heaven. And so in doing so, we enter with this intention. I want to remind you that our biggest organized effort right now is for Operation Sukkot Shalom. I'm sure you've heard us talking about it already. This is to build the bomb shelter in Tzfat, Israel. This is an urgent need. We are getting closer and closer to the goal, but we have not quite made it yet. I'm going to put the link. I've already put the link earlier. I'm going to put the link again very soon so that you can click on it and go there. And this is a huge mitzvah to be able to participate in. And if you haven't donated already, I really highly encourage you to go there, to donate, and to be part of the effort in order to provide a bomb shelter for the children who have none. They have no bomb shelter. And the nature of the situation is that there are rockets everywhere. You might say, well, the fighting is not to the north. Well, that's not true. Just open your eyes and see what's happening. They're everywhere. And so the children really need this, and you can be one of the champions, one of the Meshichim, one of those who can come in and help to even save these children, if God forbid a rocket were to come even near them. And so you can participate in this mitzvah along with us, partner with us at fundly.com/Sukkot Shalom. The link is on your screen. I want to remind you that coming up very soon, before you know it, we're going to be launching the Fall of Edom. We're going to be releasing it. Are you ready for the end? That is the question that all of you have to ask yourselves. What will the end hold? We have the targeted release of January 20th, and that's coming up really soon, in just about 5 weeks. You can pre-order The Fall of Edom, which is the natural sequel to the new Hamas. Hopefully you've read that. If you haven't, definitely go get that first. But The Fall of Edom is the natural sequel to the new Hamas. It's going to be talking all about Edom, all about Ovadia, decoding Ovadia's vision. It's going to be just absolutely amazing. And here's the cover as well, which is just amazing. So do run and pre-order this. I want to also remind you that tomorrow at 7 p.m., stay tuned on our YouTube and Facebook channels, as there will be a special interview released tomorrow evening. You want to stay tuned for that, as Rabbi continues to speak about the nature, the meaning, and what is behind the Hamas as the war continues to rage on, as tragedies continue to happen. Israel needs Mashiach. And so this is our effort of Ava to Me right now, is about the war and about spreading the correct information concerning who is Hamas, what is behind Hamas, how will we win the war? And the answer, the easy, short answer is Mashiach, but there's really a lot more intricacies than that. And so if you haven't read the new Hamas, get The Fall of Edom, pre-order it, and pay attention to our YouTube channel tomorrow evening. There'll be another amazing interview with Rabbi Shapira that will be released. You don't want to miss it. With that, we're going to jump into the Havdalah service. If you have the Avat Olam Siddur, it's page number 87. We are beginning, Hine El Yeshuati, behold, God is my salvation, God is my Yeshua. Hine El Yeshuati, Evtach velo Evchar, Ki ozi vezimrat Adonai, Vayehi li Yeshua, Ushavtem mayim besason, Mimane Yeshua, L'Adonai Yeshua, Lamecha, V'chatecha Sela, Adonai Tzvaot imanu, Miskav lanu Elohei Yaakov Selah, Adonai Tzvaot Ashrei Adam Boteach Bach, Adonai Hoshia Melech Ya'anenu Yom Koenu La Yehudim Hayeta Oa B'simcha V'sason Mikor Kenti Elanu Kos Yeshuot Esau V'Shem Adonai Ekwa Savuimanan Lai lai la 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 lai 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 la 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 lai lai la la lai 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 la la lai 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 la 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 lai 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 la 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 lai lai la la lai 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 Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam boeh pri hagefen Way pri hagefen lai lai la 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 lai 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 la 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 lai lai la la lai 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 la la lai lai la la lai 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 la 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 lai 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 la 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 lai lai la la lai 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 Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Bohe minei v'samim, bohe minei v'samim. Lai lai la 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 lai 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 la 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 lai lai la la lai 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 la lai lai la la lai Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Boeh milwei ha'esh Boeh milwei ha'esh Lai lai la 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 lai 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 la 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 lai 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 la 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 lai 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 la 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 lai lai la la lai 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 la lai Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Hamavdil bein kodesh lechol Hamavdil bein kodesh lechol Beino lechoshech Bein or lechoshech Ben Yisrael el Amim Ben Yom HaShevi'i L'Sheshet Yemei HaMaaseh Hamavdil bein kodesh lechol Hamavdil bein kodesh lechol Beino lechoshech Beino lechoshech Ben Yisrael el Amim Ben Yom HaShevi'i L'Sheshet Yemei HaMaaseh Baruch atah Adonai Hamavdil bein kodesh lechol. Amen. Shavua Tov, everyone. We are singing and requesting Eliyahu Hanavi. Eliyahu Hanavi, Eliyahu Hatishbi, Eliyahu, Eliyahu Hagiladi, Eliyahu Hanavi, Eliyahu Hatishbi, Eliyahu, Eliyahu Hagiladi, Bimehera Yavo, Eleinu Mashiach. Mashiach ben David, b'mehera yavo eleinu im Mashiach, Mashiach ben David. Eliyahu Hanavi, Eliyahu Hatishbi, Eliyahu, Eliyahu Hagiladi, Eliyahu Hanavi, Eliyahu Hatishbi, Eliyahu, Eliyahu Hagiladi, b'mehera yavo eleinu im Mashiach, Mashiach ben David, b'mehera yavo eleinu im Mashiach, Mashiach ben David, b'mehera yavo eleinu im Mashiach, Mashiach ben David, b'mehera yavo eleinu im Mashiach, Mashiach ben David. Amen. Well, Shavua Tov, everyone, from myself and from my family and from all of Avatami Ministries and Yeshivat Shuvu. We're going to go now to Rabbi Shapira, who has a very special teaching for us called the Tzitzit of Messiah and the Tzitzit of Israel. And this is going to be focusing and zooming in on Zechariah chapter 8, verse 23. Have your Bibles ready, your Tanachim ready to go there. It's going to be amazing. Shavua Tov, everyone. We'll see you real soon. And remember to support Operation Sukkot Shalom. This is a huge need, a huge mitzvah. You can be part of it to build the bomb shelter for the children in Tzfat. I'll put the link again in the chat. in just a few moments. But for now, let's go now to Rabbi Shapira. Thank you, Rav Shapira, for teaching us this evening. Shavua Tov, everyone.
Shalom Chaverim. My name is Rabbi Shapira, and I'm the founder of Havdala Ministries and Yeshivat Shuvu. I'm so glad that week after week, day after day, for the last 7-8 years, you're joining us faithfully and trusting us to bring you the word of the Lord. As we all know, we are in Acharit Ayamim. The word Acharit Ayamim literally means the last days. This is the season when we believe at Havdala Ministries that God commissioned us and order us as Jewish believers in the Messiah to prepare the greater body of Messiah, Jew and Gentile alike, to usher and prepare a way for the coming of the Messiah. I wanted to questions that we receive regarding a specific prophecy in Zechariah chapter 8, verse 23. It is important to note that when we look at prophecies, it is each and every prophet who is like a cameraman who see an event with a certain camera angle. We read about the same event that we're about to read about today in Zechariah 8:23. We read about it by the prophet Isaiah. Also Jeremiah and Ezekiel speak on the exact same event. So it's important to us to put the puzzle completely together. Number two, when we study prophecies, it's also important for us to read things in context. Context is critical. You ask the question, what is the context of the wonderful prophecy of 10 Gentiles, who, as it says, will hold the garment of a Jewish man? What is the context of this prophecy? Well, to answer this question, we have to start at the beginning. God says, and I quote the following. He says, Kineti leTzion, kin'a gdola, uchema gdola kineti la. What does that mean? He says, I have a great zeal, a great jealousy for Zion. He used the word chema, that means rat, but chema comes from the Hebrew word chom, heat. I am in love with Zion. I am so much in love with Zion that I am ready to return back to Zion. In chapter 8, God, in essence, described his return to Zion during the last days. This returning process to Zion have a name for it. It's called in Hebrew Acharit Ayamim, the last days. So when we read this chapter, it's important to understand what is going to be taking place. One of the things that the Lord mentioned in this, he says that the people will return to the city, and the city will be called Yerushalayim. Yerushalayim, wholeness, the complete. Exactly what God says that will happen has happened. God said, when the people of Israel return, I will return with them. And he says, when the city become complete, then we know that we are in the very end of the last days. What is this called? Jerusalem, 1967. In 6 days, Israel miraculously was able to capture all of Jerusalem all the way to the Temple Mount. Please understand, when this took place, the next event that is described here in Zechariah chapter 8, verse 4 and 5 is what we're seeing in front of our eyes. Let's read it together. It says, כה אמר Adonai Tzevaot. So said the Lord of armies. עוד ישבו זקנים וזקנות ברחובות ירושלים, ואיש משענתו בידו מרוב ימים, ורחובות העיר ימלאו ילדים וילדות משחקים ברחובותיה. כה אמר אדוני צבאות, כי יפלא בעיני שארית העם הזה בימים ההם. what will happen? We will have little children playing again inside the street of Jerusalem. It will be a miraculous event that after being departed from the city for 2,000 years, God himself will bring the people to recognize that it is God and God alone who return us to this land. Why did he return us to the land? Because the Geulah, the redemption of the house of Israel, is right upon us. Notice that the text used the words Bayamim Ahem. Let me explain this to you. When the prophets of Israel speak about the times nearing to the coming of the Messiah, they use two terms, Bayamim Ahem or Bayom Ahu. They refer to the same thing. In those days, in the days that we call Acharit Ayamim, the latter days, the end of the days, those are the days of the Messiah. The context of Zechariah chapter 8 continue on when the God of Israel clearly provide a roadmap for the return of the Messiah. Number one, the Jewish people will return to the land. We can put a check mark next to this. Number two, it says that Jerusalem will be in control of a Jewish end. We can also put a check mark around this. Number three, the people will recognize that God and God alone is the one who has done this miracle. We can put a check mark about this. And those days, the days that Israel will return to the land, specifically to Jerusalem, they called Bayamim Ahem. Just as we hear in the words of Zechariah later on, when he says, Bayom Ahu Yeh Adonai Echad. In those days, the Lord will be one and his name will be one. It represents the coming of the Messiah. So we read Zechariah here, we need to understand the contextual meaning behind this word. The roadmap of God continue, and it says, and I quote, Ki zera ashalom gefen titen preya, verse 12. It will be the seed of peace that will bring those things, and the land will be prosperous. People will work the land. God, in essence, saying here that the land will produce fruit. We will be returning back and we will work the land. Now, here is what he's saying, that the last check mark that the children of Israel must do. And he says, verse 15, God revealed his final plan. And he says, Ken shavti. זממתי בימים האלה להיטיב את ירושלים ואת בית יהודה, אל תראו. God gave a warning to Israel right before the calamities that are about to take place, namely Gog and Magog, the battles, the attacks from the northern borders of Israel. He says, I have a plan. And God says to Israel, do not fear. And here is what you must do in those days. He says in verse 16, Ele advarim asher ta'asu. Here is what you're going to do. דברו אמת איש אל רעהו, אמת ומשפט שלום שפטו בשעריכם. He said, do you want to experience the ultimate peace? Take care of the way you treat one another. Take care of the way you judge one another. Make sure that Havdalah le'reacha kamocha, love your neighbor as yourself. He is what you do to prepare for my coming. And here he's saying in verse 18 that he's going to take the day of fasts and he's going to turn them to a day of joy and gladness. Remember again, the prophet here seeing picture. He doesn't see things exactly in a sequence, but he's seeing pictures in front of our eyes. And here the surprise comes. The God of Israel through the prophet Zechariah said, there is going to be one more thing that is going to take place. before your fullness. Do you realize that from chapter 8 verse 1 all the way to verse 22, God described the event that we call the fullness of the Jews. But in verse 23, God described the event that he called the fullness of the Gentiles. And listen to what the God of Israel have to say. And I quote, כה אמר אדוני צבאות, בימים ההם, אשר יחזיקו 10 אנשים מכל לשונות הגויים, החזיקו בכנף איש יהודי לאמור, נלכה עמכם, כי שמענו אלוהים עמכם. There's going to be one more miraculous event that's going to be happening when the nations will see the miracle of the state of Israel, the miracle of the return of the Jewish people to the land, the miracle of the land. They will start to realize that the God of Israel is a true and living God. And in those days, they will call upon the Jewish people and they will say, we want what you have. Will you allow us to walk with you? This event, friends, called in the scriptures the fullness of the Gentiles. Paul says that this event is a mystery because somehow through this event of the nations returning to the God of Israel, cleaving to the house of Jacob, guess what? In that, the final salvation comes. Let us understand this verse together in context. It says here, כה אמר אדוני צבאות, so said the Lord of army, בימים ההם. I already explained what the meaning of the word בימים ההם. בימים ההם mean in the very last days. Each and every one of you who watch me today, who is not Jewish, who cleave to the Jewish people and to the house of Jacob, he is a fulfillment, a prophetic and miraculous fulfillment of this verse. Recently, a person told me that he does not speak about the Jews. Let us see together if that claim holds truth. It says that 10 men from the nations, from the different tongues. And here, how do we know that this is not during the millennium period? This is important because some in the Hebrew roots and in Christianity believe that is in the millennial period. It is not. And here is how we know it is not. Because the book of Zechariah tells us that in the last days, when Messiah is here, he will return us to a single language, to Hebrew. Zephaniah chapter 3 said it. But here the nation are still in different tongues. This is exactly what it says when it used the word mikol leshonot. They speak different languages. They are still under the curse of the Tower of Babel. But the fact of the matter is that they return. 10 of them is important. Why? Because a Jew wears 10 or 4, I should say, 4 garments, 4 tzitziot, 4 corners to a tzitzit. A Gentile, 10 hold it, that's 40 around the Jew. But there are 17 nations. So if you do the math, 4 times 10 times the 17 nations, you get the number 2,800. The ratio of a Jew to a non-Jew believers in the world will be 1 Jew to 2,800 from the nations. Now, it says in the text that they hold the garments of a Jewish man. The question is this man Yeshua? Or is this man the Jewish people? The answer is not so simple as it seems. For starters, Yeshua is the one who is called the Son of God. And Israel is also the one who is called the Son of God, according to the book of Exodus, chapter 4, verse 22, 23. So who is the Son of God? Israel and the Messiah. This man that is being held to in a literal meaning, in the literal context, can never mean Yeshua and have to be applied to the Jewish people. It is a simple understanding of subject-verb agreement of the text. It says, we are holding the garment of a Jewish man. By the way, all the commentators speak about Israel, all Jewish commentators, and all Christian commentators speak about the Messiah. The Christian commentators are wrong because they don't understand the subject-verb agreement. He says, we will walk with you, where the subject is the Jewish man. The subject is the Jewish man. The action is the verb is walking with you. The Hebrew word you here in the text is the word imchem. If it's spoken on a single entity of a Jew, the word would be imcha. But the word is not in a singular. The word is in a plural. The word is imchem. Therefore, this verse applies to all the Jewish believers. And one could argue without any problem, since Yeshua is the master and he lives inside the heart of a Jewish believer, that it's also applied to the Messiah of Israel, because they are one in the same. Please understand that any attempt to diminish the role of the Jews in the last days is nothing short of anti-Semitism. It is Paul who says in Romans chapter 9, verse 1 through 5, that the covenants and the promises and the work all belong to the Jewish people. And here we see in the text the ultimate calling of the Jews, the fulfillment of the promise that God has given Israel in the book of Exodus, chapter 19, verse 5 and 6. The Lord says, and I quote, and you will be to me ממלכת כהנים וגוי קדוש, ואלה הדברים אשר תדבר אל בני ישראל. Israel is called to be a nation of priests. What is the job of the priests? The job of the priest is to be a mediator between God and the people. And here we see a picture of Israel being like the high priest. Yes, the Messiah is also the high priest, and we cannot separate the Messiah from Israel. We are talking about the believing Israel, of course. The believing Israel is the nation of priests. Their fullness has come before the coming of the Messiah. This is part of God's plan of redemption. So what do? They take the Gentiles under their wing and they let them hold the garment. What is the garment, the corner, what's called in Hebrew the tzitzit? What does it represent? It represents the covenant. Let us see what's happening all throughout the world today. The nations are returning home. They're returning to the God of Israel and to the covenants of Israel. Just as Paul said in Ephesians chapter 2, you are no longer strangers or foreigners, but now you have a way to come in to the covenants of the commonwealth house of Israel. In the last days, we're going to continue to see an increase of this. The question is, will the nations come to the covenant through the Jewish people who believe in Messiah or not believing in Messiah? It is not the same. Let me stress it to you that I believe that this man that's standing Ish Yehudi, all of Israel called Ish Yehudi, is talking about all believing Israel. Now notice with this, as I told you a minute ago, that this verse repeats itself in other places in the Torah, in the prophet. And let me quote to you from the prophet Isaiah, chapter 14, who give us yet another camera angle to understand what cleaving, what grabbing to the tzitzit of the Jew would look like. It says, Isaiah 14:1, כי ירחם אדוני את יעקב, ובחר עוד בישראל, וניחם על אדמתם, ונלווה הגר עליהם, ונספחו על בית יעקב. What is going to take place? Exactly what the prophet Zechariah told us that will take place. The Jews will first return to the land. That will be step one. And then after they step on their land, something supernatural will happen. The Gentiles will come on in and they will say, we want to cleave to the Jewish people. Who do they cleave to here? It is clear that it says Bet Yaakov, the house of Jacob. The Yehudi, the Jewish man that we see in Zechariah chapter 8 verse 23 is none other than the house of Jacob, the Jewish people. And what they will do, the text says here that they will cleave, the word in Hebrew, the word nispechu, they will become part of the Jewish people. How is that possible? This is indeed a mystery. A mystery that none of us can truly understand. Only God and God Himself. They take a dead branch without covenants, without promises, and bring them to the fullness of their faith. Who is benefit from the cleaving to the house of Israel? One would say that the Gentiles did, because they come on in and they receive the fullness. But as a Jew, let me tell you, when you come in as a non-Jews into our covenants, it is truly us who benefit. Jacob can be full again because he's truly fulfilled his calling of bringing people in. And in that, the fulfillment of the covenant of Abraham through Messiah Yeshua is taking place. Again, an interpretation that tried to diminish the Jewish people, to try to say that this verse does not speak about the house of Israel, is contrary to the house of Israel, contrary to Judaism, contrary to the New Testament, and contrary to the Torah itself, and is flat out anti-Semitic. My challenge to you, come on in. Hold on to the Jewish believers, because the Jewish believers and Yeshua are one and the same. And when you cleave in, you become one and the same with us. And in this, we see the creation of the one new man. And in this, all of Israel, even the non-believing Israel, will be saved. Hope you've been blessed and challenged. This lesson is made for you because I thought that I have to clarify it. There is so many erroneous teachings on this verse. Please share this teaching with your friends and family. And most importantly, come on in. God bless you and shalom.
Yeah, man, my name is Jimmy. I come from Jamaica, bro. We're gonna sing Motto Vu. Oh, 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 oh. Motto Vu. Oh, Alecha, Yaakov. בשכנותיך ישראל, מה טובו אוהליך יעקב. משכנותיך ישראל. This comes from the portion of Balak. Bilam thinks he's gonna curse Israel, but really in the end, his plan derails into nothing and it ends up blessing Israel. מה טובו עליך יעקב, משכנותיך ישראל. Bilam thinks he's bad, he's really good because he blessed Israel instead of putting them in a bad mood. He did not curse them, he did bless them. He blessed them with these words. Motavu alecha Yaakov Mishkenotecha Yisrael Motavu alecha Yaakov Mishkenotecha Yisrael. Yo, Bilam did not curse Israel. He ended up blessing them with the following words: Matavu ohalecha Yaakov, Mishkenotecha Yisrael. He talked to a donkey, beat it up. He beat it up, but the donkey still loved him a lot and it caused him a lot. But he ended up being bad. He never turned a new leaf. He ended up being a villain forever and ever and ever. Matavu alecha Yaakov Mishkenotecha Yisrael Matavu alecha Yaakov Mishkenotecha Yisrael. Everybody listen, gather around. Matavu alecha Yaakov Mishkenotecha Israel. Listen to those words. Research them. The translation in English. They are good. Good words Bilam spoke, but he meant to curse Israel. He ended up blessing them instead. The donkey helped a lot, but he still ended up being bad. Matavu alecha Yaakov Mishkenotecha Yisrael. Matavu ohalecha Yaakov Mishkenotecha Israel. Matavu ohalecha Matavu ohalecha Yaakov Mishkenotecha Israel.